You graduated the program and were in it when I wasn't yet the director. So we are very pleased to welcome you back. We have, so I'm going to actually go through, this lovely long panel here and just say a few words from the marvelous bios that you all sent us. Thank you. And yes, and I've been reminded that before I do that, because after that I would like to get us right into the program, and I want to also introduce a person who will be co-hosting this panel. We'll just basically throw out some questions and ask several of you to address them. And that is Professor Carmen Cuevas Reyes, who is a long-term professor in our program. She loves to teach our introductory course in Women and Gender Studies, does a great job. We get a lot of students from her class who end up becoming majors and minors in our program. So I'm very glad to welcome her here. And she's had a 21-year career at the university affiliated with the Equal Opportunity Fund. And you're director.
No, associate director.
Associate
Thank you for the promotion.
Associate, yeah, so that's what we want. Associate director of the program, and does a wonderful job also with that. So before I introduce our panelists, and this is the way the program will go. I will introduce them, and then we will ask them a few questions, and we will have a nice discussion. You can have at the end of that some time to ask your own questions. Some of the people who are representing organizations here also have brought some literature that is on some of the tables in the back about their respective organizations, where you can think about interning, where you can think about other ways to get involved. And they will stay after the panel is over to talk to those of you, and I hope that's all of you who are interested in finding out a little bit more about maybe one or all of the organizations here. They will stay and chat with you a little bit more in detail. And before I introduce them, I'm going to ask Viviana Bernal, who is our program assistant in the program and has been with the program for the last 3 years. And is sadly on her way out at the end of this semester, but has done a wonderful job in keeping the program, in fact, making it stronger than ever. So let's give her a round of applause. And she has things to say.
So first, I also wanted to thank some of our student workers. We have an outreach student assistant, Nate, who has been an integral part of organizing this, so thank you. And we also have had 2 student volunteers, Joe and Aiden, who've been really awesome in helping us this morning, so thank you to them. I also just wanted to announce that every semester, every year, we have a different organization that we support through financial contributions. So this year we have Somali Mom, which is a foundation that's a nonprofit organization committed to ending modern slavery and empowering its survivors as part of the solution. It was co-founded by sex slavery survivor Somali Mom, and the foundation works to eradicate sex slavery, liberate its victims, and empower survivors to create and sustain lives of dignity and to be agents of the next generation's change. And they also support rescue operations, shelter services, rehabilitation programs in Southeast Asia, where trafficking of women and girls is widespread. So I'm just going to be passing around this basket. If you can give anything you have, change, $1, that would be really, really great. And we also have a Pepsi bottle in the back where you can put in your donation. So I'm going to start over here. And that's pretty much it for me. So enjoy. I hope you get a lot out of this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. We also do a couple of programs, for students throughout the year, not more than a couple, several each semester, and I just wanted to draw your attention to them. That table that you see in the back, the gray table next to the food table, that has all of our literature, including career pamphlets, program pamphlets, new programs that we are developing, such as the K-6 teacher certificate, and announcements for classes in the spring that you might be interested in taking, as well as programs that we're involved with, and our fall. We do 2 newsletters a year, fall and spring, and our fall newsletter, which contains a lot of the information that I've just mentioned in more detail, is in here. And so There are copies also on that table. You're welcome to take your copy with you. We also have these online on our webpage. Just quickly to mention some of the programs that we are hosting. This month we have another Fawzia. It's a common name from Pakistan, which is where I'm from. Her name is Dr. Fawzia Saeed. It's like Jane, I suppose. Although one doesn't hear Jane that much. And she will be here on Wednesday in 2 weeks, October the 29th, right here in Cohen Lounge at 6 p.m., talking about her book called Working with Sharks, One Woman's Fight to Pass Sexual Harassment Laws in Pakistan. She's a really dynamic speaker. The book is wonderful. A lot of my students are reading it in one of my classes, so I invite you to come to that. Then next week, Thursday, October the 24th, also here in Cohen at 11:30 a.m., we have Professor Emerita of the English Department, Carol Stone, who will be giving a very exciting lecture combined with a slide presentation on the life and art of Josephine Hopper, who is the wife of an acclaimed American painter named Edward Hopper. People have heard about Edward Hopper, but not much about Josephine. So that's one of the things we do in the program, is we bring to light figures like Josephine Hopper, who were amazing artists, but because of the fact that she was married to a more famous man, was a woman, perhaps her art was not as well known. This should be a wonderful event. And finally, on Tuesday, November the 5th, also at 11:30 a.m., in University Hall Courtyard Lounge, very fabulous performance and reading from a memoir called L is for Lion by the acclaimed Italian-American performance artist and writer Annie Lanzilotto. And this is her new memoir about growing up butch in the Bronx. She's amazing. She's a real character, and I think you're in for a treat. So each of our programs is unique and interesting, and I hope that you will spread the word and that all of you will come. The information goes out on our listserv, so there is a sign-up sheet going around. Please sign up. We'll at least put you on that list, and you will get information about our exciting programs, and you can then choose to come to one or all of them. Okay, so I'll put that aside, and now for our exciting panel. I'm going to start at that end, and that is Carolina Satkowski. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, very good.
Wonderful. Who earned her BA in our program in Women and Gender Studies from Montclair State, and then went on to do her MSW at Fordham. She is currently working as a domestic violence liaison for the Division of Child Protection and Permanency. And in that position, she establishes safety plans for all victims and children, accountability for perpetrators, as well as education for the workers of the organization. And I'm sure that you're going to tell us a little bit more about that. But her mission is to continually empower women and girls and to raise awareness about issues affecting them, especially domestic issues around domestic violence. And I'm assuming you empower and educate men as well to so that they don't end up becoming perpetrators, right? Saloon, next to her, Saloon Wallow-Roberts is a doctoral student in the program of counselor education right here at Montclair State. She is a research fellow, and her research interests include violence against women, gender equity, trauma, refugees, the impact of acculturation. I mean, it's a wide, you're a woman who is interested and passionate about so many things, and I've had the great good fortune of performing on stage with you in Eve Ensler's Vagina Monologues last year, and she's a wonderful actress as well. It was really wonderful getting to know her. I'm so happy to welcome you here. You have also worked as coordinator of the Hudson County Rape Crisis Center for 10 years. We will hear more about the kinds of strategies that you are working on to develop to empower people of all genders, right? And sexualities. Next to her is Sharon Waters. who is fairly new to our campus, right, Sharon? You've come to us from New Jersey NJ Biz, is that correct? Where she was editor and oversaw the newspaper and website's coverage of business issues in the Garden State. She is the program manager of a very new and exciting center that is housed in the College of Business, and that is the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship. And one of the exciting developments that we are exploring in our program, Women and Gender Studies, is to be able to offer alongside the Feliciano Center an entrepreneurship certificate for our majors who may want to pick up skills in the field of business. And particularly, I know that you yourself personally are interested, as is the person who is the major grantor behind this program, behind this center, is to really encourage the involvement of women in the field of entrepreneurship. So welcome, and I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about that center. Next to her is not Charity. Yes, it is. It's Charity. Yes, thank you. So that's Charity Dacey. Did I say that correctly? Director of Teacher Education, Admissions, and Retention at Montclair State, who has worked to recruit teachers for institutions of higher education as well as urban school districts for over 13 years, was a graduate of a women's college, and is very interested research-wise as she works alongside doing her job on her PhD, her doctoral degree in teacher ed. She is very interested in researching teachers' beliefs about the role of gender in the classroom. And it is with that in mind that, I hope that we'll hear a little bit more about the program that we have just developed and passed, so that our majors, if they're interested in becoming teachers and getting certified in the K-6 program, can go through your college. So that's really exciting. Welcome. We have our student, one of our current students, star students, may I say, Ali Longo, who is a senior at MSU, is a psych major and is a double minor in both the Women and Gender Studies program as well as the LGBTQ program. So you can pick up minors in our program as well. You don't have to be a major, or you can be a second major with us, also very easy to do, in fact, with programs like psych and sociology, history and English, etc. Ali, I don't know how you're studying because you're holding 3 jobs, all volunteer positions. Here, you're a study abroad peer advisor coordinator, a Bonner Leader of America. You're a representative of the Leaders of America Congress, and you're a Lavender Leader / queer educator at the LGBT Center as well. My, that's amazing. Very impressive. And you have also just returned from a semester abroad in Amsterdam with the School for International Training, and are currently working with the person, the organization of the person right next to you, the Masakan Center. So I'm going to turn it and just introduce Stephanie Franklin, who is the founder of the nonprofit Masakan Center. Is that Masakani? Or Masakani, yeah. So is there a story behind the name?
It's a South African.
South African, that's what okay, because your bio mentions that you got the idea to actually found this center when you were working in South Africa. And what does it mean, the Masakani?
Let's build ourselves for ourselves together. So community building.
Community building, fantastic. Also very much in line with the mission of a program such as ours right here, which is why a lot of our students like to intern there and to use that as a launching pad for careers in the nonprofit sector. So we're very grateful for you for providing that opportunity and for being here today. Next to her is Reverend Diana Wilcox, who is an Episcopal priest as well as a chaplain right here at Montclair State. Has a student group called the Web of Life. I love the name, Web of Life. It's active, which is very active on our campus, and it supports LGBT rights. It supports environmental sustainability, as well as other issues around justice, peace and justice, right? Again, these are the kinds of aims and ambitions and beliefs that we promote in Women and Gender Studies. So I'm very, very grateful for you to take the time to be here with us. And next to her is Professor Shannon Harry, who has been teaching in our program for the last three years now. Seems like only yesterday that you came, and has become very quickly a very integral part of our program here. Her students love her. Classes are always packed. She is completing currently her PhD in film and literature too, right? Film and literature, or is it just strictly film studies? It's film studies, but with a focus on issues of women and gender and sexuality, looking at film in a global perspective, which is why you've often taught our global feminist course and continue to teach our introductory course in women and gender studies. So thank you for being here, Shannon. Next to her is Adrienne Reagan. And Adrienne is the interim program advisor for the P3 and K-6 students in teacher education at the Center of Pedagogy in the College of Education. And so she is the person that our students who want to pick up the K-6 certificate with them will go through. And so it's great to have you here to put a name to the face so we know who we're sending our students to. Good. So thank you very much for being here. You've also, like everybody else on this amazing panel, done so many different things. And are currently teaching our new student seminar, which is proving to be exciting and challenging at the same time, right? Wonderful. Great to have you here. And you're a mathematics teacher. Yes. Awesome. Next to her is Lil Corcoran. Did I say Corcoran? Corcoran. Lil Corcoran, who is representing an organization called Shelter Our Sisters. She is the Associate Executive Director of that organization, which is Bergen County's Shelter for Battered Women. She's been with the agency for 23 years. That's almost as long as I've been in Montclair State. So we are loyal people, loyal to our institutions. She graduated with a master's degree in counseling right here from MSU in '93, is currently a licensed professional counselor, and has received the Counseling Department's award for outstanding contribution in the area of counseling and human services, the year that you graduated, right? You also adjunct at Bergen Community College and are currently teaching a course in sociology called The Changing Roles of Women. Welcome. And last but certainly not least, we have Raphael Pastor, who is representing New Jersey United for Marriage. He is a campus organizer for New Jersey United for Marriage, which is basically the campaign to win same-sex marriage in New Jersey, and you have succeeded. Almost. We have, yes. The judge, I think, has ruled that should happen, and we are hoping that this will, given the momentum behind this. So we're very excited to have you here, and you are trying to make New Jersey the 14th state to secure marriage for all loving and committed couples. So we have a wonderful array, and we're going to get started so that our students can get to hear from you. And I think we can maybe get started with a question that I think is open to everybody, though I think maybe we could ask particularly Shannon, Harry, and Reverend Diana Wilcox to start by addressing this, which is thinking about issues of gender, of sexuality, of religion, class, race. Why are these issues important for our students to learn about? Shannon and Diana.
Well, for me, I think that it is important, if you're interested in peace and justice and equality and these kinds of issues, you have to learn about women's and gender studies and its intersectionality with race and class, ethnicity, religion. But also, it just makes us smarter, right? I mean, it is intellectually sound, I think, to learn from the perspective of others. So my students hear me say this all the time, so I apologize for the repetition.
I actually hope that there's a time when we're not having to talk about women's issues or LGBT issues, or it's just human issues, like Hillary Clinton said, women's rights are human rights. But having come from a business background and hit the glass ceiling, and now in the church, and there's a stained glass ceiling, You know, there are places I can and cannot work, both as a woman and as an LGBT person. So these are the things we need to talk about, because from a faith perspective, until we recognize that everyone is a beloved child of God, we have a lot of work to do.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Did you ever study women in gender studies in college? And if so, did it make a difference? And if not, do you think it would have made a difference? And this is to anyone.
Anyone wants to
I can
address that?
speak to that.
Yes.
I took my first women's studies class at Bergen Community College, and I remembered very distinctly saying to the professor when I met her in the hallway that I was not a feminist, you know, I'm not really a feminist, but I believe that equal rights for women. And then shortly after, I was in her class, and about the second class, she asked the class to define feminism, and I had read the chapter. Like most of the students. So there were these young women in the back that were bashing feminists, and I'm thinking, gee, that's not really what I read in the chapter. So I started to raise my hand, and as I started to raise my hand, I had this complete epiphany. And I said, well, that's not really what the chapter says. The chapter says this and this and this, and I think maybe, oh my God, I think I'm a feminist. And so I came out. And I was years later at a conference that instructor was giving, and she told that story from her point of view, and what an important moment for her as well, to have turned a student, so to recruited a student. But that really, at that time, it changed my life, and this was in the 80s. So it really did change my life. I guess I had always had the thoughts, but I never had the words and the vocabulary to put to it. And I just want to add to, and then I took most of my undergrad courses after Bergen. I went to Ramapo, and they had there was a small group of people that wanted to have a gay and lesbian meeting. And I say it like that because it was very underground. I remember there were like secret codes to get into the dorm room where they were going to have this meeting where there were about a dozen people, and you had to have a secret knock. And if you were at the dorm when you went the night of the meeting and someone said, who are you looking for? You'd be like, you know, and you didn't know what to say. So it's very, I think going back to the original question is, why are we doing this? So that today we don't have to have a secret code in an underground to get to a meeting on gay and lesbian issues. And so, and there's a lot more work still to be done, and we can talk about that later, but I think that's the reason, is that I'm so encouraged when I come back to campus life and I see people are just whoever they want to be, relatively safe. And the clubs exist and the courses exist. So anyway, that's what I want to say.
And to add to that, the terminology is such a big deal. Feminist, liberal, it's like you can't say those things. And it's to go into a class where you have like-minded people and you're starting to get the words that you can express what it is you really mean by it is life-changing.
I think I'm going through that now, coming back from my trip abroad and learning so much about these issues only, and coming into an environment where those issues are not the main focus anymore. And all my classes this week, I've actually caused a lot of stir. I have a meeting with the professor tomorrow about something I mentioned in class. So we'll see how it goes. I'm taking it positively. It's just, all my thinking changes when I'm in class now and I hear certain trigger words and I hear things and I'm just like, that doesn't sound like it's representative or it's positive or it's encompassing everyone that we know actually exists in reality. And students just look at me and they're like, you're crazy. What are you thinking about? I mean, do you really think about these things all the time? And I'm like, yeah, that's how I am now. That's how I think. So I'm excited to get out and teach people terminology. I have people coming up to me every day like, can you just teach me some of these words that you were saying? And like, what do they mean? Or they send me BuzzFeed articles and Upworthy, and they're on my Facebook every day. They're like, Allie, you would love this. Look at it. And it's just starting this dialogue that I think is so addicting. And everyone is starting to see how much it's changing our dynamic in this campus community.
Right.
I would add too, as a gender double major from college, it really shaped my life's work. And in teacher education every day, I'm struck with how much more I have to offer, having had that gender studies double major. Having gone to a women's college, it was a very unique experience and a very wonderful experience. But we need here at Montclair more gender studies majors going into education, Because in our field, there's not a field that influences the future generation more, besides perhaps being a parent than being a teacher. And the next generation of students, and our program specifically needs gender studies majors to better inform our view of what culturally responsive teaching looks like, sounds like, and nurtures every student in classrooms. I mean, some of the statistics about Title XI, it's been 40 years since Title XI passed, and yet we still have studies showing, the research shows that girls at the age of 11 start to submerge their strong sense of self. And that means that we need men, women, transgender, we need all types of teachers to better represent for the next generation of students who are grappling with all of the gender identity issues, that schools are a welcoming place, schools are a good place, and that everyone should be thriving. So really being a gender studies major, I really felt that that shaped my entire career, my work in teacher education. In Montclair, I'm so excited to just see so many gender studies majors.
Great. Thank you. And Carolina, I was wondering if you had something to add as an alum of our program. Did you learn any specific kinds of skills? I mean, we've heard generally from people, you know, what was important in their backgrounds or in their lives post BA. As an alum of this particular program, how did you put some of what you learned into your work, into your career as it's taken shape since you left us?
So I graduated in 2007, and I didn't come into Montclair State initially as before in 2007, before that was just women's studies. It wasn't called gender studies or anything else. And I actually flunked out of Montclair State. They threw me out, and I was on academic suspension because my GPA was in the negatives. And so it's interesting that I started to think about what I really wanted to do and what has impacted me in my life. And for most of my life, I was surrounded by domestic violence in my household, in my family, and things like that. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with that? Because it's one of those fields, too, where it's very difficult to get into, and everybody kind of knows everybody. And it's almost like secret society, because you never know where the shelters are. You don't know where to go to find a job in that field. But being a major here actually helped me open up a lot of doors, because I met a lot of people. And I listened a lot, I networked a lot. So even though the folks next to me were students, I thought, well, these people are interested in the same stuff as me. So maybe somewhere down the line, they'll be in a field that I want to be in. And interestingly, there was, I think, 5 graduates or 4 graduates the year that I graduated in 2007 from this department. And one of them did go into the same field as me, and I got a job through her. And actually, she works with Lil. I don't think Lil even knows Jackie. And so like there's so many connections. And then I moved on to somebody else that I met through school as well, through a professor. So it did impact me in a great way as far as networking, and then as far as things that I never realized. I took a class, I think it was called Sociology and Gender, or Women in Sociology, something like that. And we had to do this project of going into a toy store and looking at boys and girls toys. And then we had to rip out articles from magazines or ads from magazines to see how women were represented and how men were represented. And I was literally like, holy crow. That's not what I literally said. But like, I can't believe that this is it's so subtle in a way, but it's so in your face. Like, on the other hand, it's everywhere that you turn to. And so that really impacted me. I wanted to be able to change that. I wanted to change the toy stores and everything that I saw around me, so that it represented me, not these people that are supposed to look like women, act like women, dress like women, and I didn't know any of these people. They weren't represented around me.
There's an article out now about a mom that wrote into Lego about the female toy insert that everyone gets if you mark your gender down on the Lego application for like subscription. I think you would find it really interesting.
Wow. They're still trying to keep that going. To sell the toys, I guess.
Specifically because her son wanted to play with some of the doll houses and everything, but she wanted him to look at the toys, but not necessarily, like, he doesn't identify as a woman or as a girl, so they only give inserts to certain people.
That's amazing. That's easy. Go ahead.
This question will be for Lil, Stephanie, and Raphael. What are some of the positions that you currently exist in your organization, and what internships opportunities do you provide for students?
Well, of course, if you've seen me on campus, which I'm sure most of you have, there are a lot of different opportunities in terms of getting involved with the campaign. Specifically, I am looking, of course, for interns and volunteers to go ahead and get more and more volunteers to participate, and that's usually called in-person volunteer recruitment. So it's a way where we get on campus, essentially go ahead and look for students who want to be involved and give them opportunities to be involved, because it's really about lighting the fire that these students have and are really super passionate about, and getting them involved in the campaign in a way that feels really, really genuine and meaningful for them. And that also can look like what our advocacy program is of course every Tuesdays from 5:30 to 8:30 inside the Student Center in the CSI room. We hold our phone banks, and what a phone bank is, for many students who aren't really aware of it, it's getting on the phones, talking to people looking for supporters of same-sex marriage, and having them leave a brief 30-second voicemail in their legislators' voicemail box in key districts, so that those legislators get the idea that the people who live in those districts support same-sex marriage, and therefore when they go to vote in this legislative session, they go ahead and vote yes, and we automatically secure same-sex marriage here in New Jersey through the legislature, because that's the only true secure win. So we're building really super great momentum, but we really need to get a whole bunch of volunteers and people who are super passionate about this work on the legislative side, and go ahead and reach those legislators in a really big collective action way, so that we can go ahead and win marriage here in New Jersey come January. Yeah.
Awesome, great. Stephanie.
Yes, so we have 2 internships available. We have a sex educator internship where folks go out to schools and youth organizations and drug and alcohol treatment centers everywhere in and around Newark, and teach sex ed. Allie was a sex educator with us over the summertime, and then Jessica as well has been a sex educator with us for a couple of years too. And you would actually go out and do the sex education work. You get full training as well, and materials and all of that for that program. And it's for a semester, or you can do it for the school year, it's up to you. And there's also a program development internship that's starting in January, where folks will start from scratch with creating a program, going out and doing evaluation work with it, actual program implementation, a community assessment, and we're looking specifically to now do sex education programs geared directly towards men, directly for LGBTQIA populations, and a teen parent program as well on sex education.
Wow, that's quite a large portfolio.
Yeah, so we have information on the internships on the table over there.
How many interns do you usually work with? Does the organization have at any one given time that are from colleges or?
Usually over the school year, we have anywhere between 4 and 6, and then over the summertime, we generally have more between 6 and 8 interns. And we also have high school interns as well. We do high school programs too.
That's excellent, great. Are they all unpaid? Again, they define.
Yeah, they're all unpaid internships at this point, and they're about 20 hours a week. And they, in addition to doing just general sex ed in the community, they also, we have a Tumblr page, and we have like Facebook and Twitter and all that, and they do social media posts. Allie did her posts over the summertime on a huge GLBTQ, everything along those lines, and so they would post on our pages as well. And then any programs that we have or any health fairs that we do in the community, they table for those too, and we do work with other organizations to do street outreach and kind of.
So we have a course, an internship course in the program, and that's where you can get academic credit for doing.
So I want to do this.
Yes.
I Jackie about it.
Good, excellent. Yes, was there a question from someone?
I wanted to let you know, we did have a student self-development position with that organization.
With the MasterCard
semesters ago, and with your cooperative education internship.
Great, and that's Beverly Berbers, who is our point person for the co-op and internship program. So thank you, Bev, for that. Lil, did you want to add something about your organization, Shelter Our Sisters?
Yeah, I just want to say that Shelter Our Sisters is in Bergen County, but every county in New Jersey has at least one battered women's shelter. If you search for New Jersey Coalition for Battered Women, NJCBW, they have a list of all the programs in the state, and most of those programs will take interns. However, we do have a requirement that you have a 40-hour training with us, and we do get a lot of students from a lot of different disciplines, so I can only take so many at a time because we have I believe, when we take a student, we have an obligation to provide them with something worthwhile. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, so we can't have every student that's interested. Sometimes with undergrad students it's easier because you don't have the same requirements that social work students have with clinical hours and stuff like that. So we can sometimes take a student that needs to just do a couple of semesters, that can work with children, that can answer the phones, which is sometimes hotline related, some different things you can do. But you do need to take the 40-hour training. We offer it twice a year. We're just finishing up our fall training. The next one is in early March. So and that's usually one or two nights a week. I can say this to you too, if you're looking, almost every time I've ever had to hire, and I'm responsible for hiring most positions in my agency, I pull out of the pool of first people that I know, which would be our volunteers that go through that training and our students too. So it's not a complete waste to take that. Well, first of all, it's not a waste at all because as my fellow panelist said, it's an intellectually sound training, and you'll get something out of it even if you never do another day with us. But also, if you're looking for work in the field, that's where you're going to meet people like me who know what we're talking about and know people that work in other programs and can make the connections for you.
That's great. Yeah, we wanted to talk about the entrepreneurship center a little bit on campus. I mean, this has really been wonderful just to get a sense of what people are doing with their lives, the different points at which you're all at in your careers and the work that you do with